These matrices are all in row echelon form. A matrix is in its row echelon form if all the rows that contains only 0 elements are at the bottom of the matrix and the other rows that consist at least one non-zero element are above these rows. In addition, if we just take non-zero rows only, the first non-zero element of each row is called its pivot. The elements you see on the screen are the pivots of these matrices. Now that you know what a pivot is, the second property of row echelon matrices is that the pivot of each row is exactly to the right of the pivot of the row above it. It ensures that all the elements below the pivots are 0. We also have some matrices which are in reduced row echelon form. Reduced row echelon form matrices are in row echelon form, the pivots are all 1, and the pivot is the only non-zero entry in its column. These columns are called pivot columns, and these columns are non-pivot columns. Now, look at this matrix. Is it in row echelon form? These are the first elements from the left of each row, but the red ones violate the row echelon form. Because for this one, the pivot on the row above is on the column right to this element. And also for this one, it is below the pivot of the row above, so it is not in row echelon form. What about this one? The pivot of the next row comes after the previous row for each row of this matrix, and the row with only 0 elements is at the bottom of the matrix, so this is in row echelon form. Now, this is the same matrix, but I have replaced the pivots with 1s. It is still in row echelon form, but is it in reduced row echelon form? The answer is no, because for reduced row echelon form, the non-pivot elements must all be 0. Pay attention that all the pivot elements are 1, but the pivot column requirement is not satisfied in this example. In this example though, not only are all the pivots 1, but also all the non-pivot elements in each column are 0. So we can say that this matrix is in reduced row echelon form. Now, let's see how we can use these concepts to find the solutions for these systems of linear equations, which are very important in linear algebra. This system of linear equations can be written in this form using matrices. In this previous video, we tried to make sense of these systems using some geometrical interpretations. And we learned that these systems of linear equations have only one or infinite or no solutions. One of the reduced echelon form matrices we had in the examples was this. This matrix can be the representation of the coefficients of a system of linear equations with 4 variables. There are 4 unknowns and only 2 equations, so we will not find a unique answer. And as the 2 equations are not the multiple of each other, there are infinite answers. If we choose x1 and x2 to be 8 and 15 and the other 2 elements to be 0, we have found one single solution out of many infinite solutions that are out there. This single solution is called particular solution or special solution of the system of linear equations. To find the general solutions, we first need to mention that variables associated with pivot columns are called basic variables. For example, in this matrix, x1 and x2 are basic variables. Also, variables associated with non-pivot columns are called free variables. I will shortly tell you why. In this specific example, x3 and x4 are free variables. Let me remind you that another form of writing this system is to multiply each variable with its corresponding column and then add them. So for this specific solution, we can write it as a sum of the multiplications of each entry of the solution with its corresponding column vector embedded in our 2×4 coefficient matrix. But we know that we need an infinite number of answers, and this one is just one special solution. And here comes the beauty of the reduced row echelon form. We can produce this 0 based on the pivot columns that come before this non-pivot column and subtract the non-pivot column to get 0. It means that this one has to be 0 because it is not a pivot column and doesn't come before the non-pivot column we are talking about. So by using these multipliers, we can regenerate the 0 in a more general way. Also for this 0, we can do the same thing and recreate the 0 using these multipliers. There's also another step we need to take to find all the solutions. For both of these reconstructions of 0, we can multiply all of the coefficients by any real number. In other words, we can multiply each 0 by an arbitrary real number and still get 0. These are two free parameters for the two non-pivot columns, and that's why we call x3 and x4 in this example free variables. Let's recap. If we have the matrix associated with the system of linear equations in reduced row echelon form, we can use the basic variables which are associated with the pivot columns and find a particular solution to this matrix equation. To find all the solutions, we have to use the free variables by introducing some free parameters that are arbitrary real numbers and find all the solutions of this matrix equation. Finally, we combine all the solutions and that would be the general solution. For example, in this example we just talked about, there is a particular solution and two free parameters that are associated with the non-pivot columns of the coefficient matrix. So, we can write the general solution as a combination of the particular solution and two free parameters that contribute to the infinite number of solutions of this system of linear equations. Pay attention that the two free parameters omega1 and omega2 can be any real numbers you can think of, and they give us all the different ways we can create the zeros. Pay attention that these column matrices are not unique and can be multiplied by any real numbers. For example, I can multiply each of them with a -1 and they are still the general solution. So our variables can be expressed in this way, which give all the infinite solutions to the system of linear equations. There is still something else we should consider. What if our coefficient matrix is not in reduced row echelon form? We can change any matrix into reduced row echelon form using a method called Gaussian Elimination. You might see it as Gauss-Jordan Method as well. We are allowed to use three operations on any matrix to change it to its reduced row echelon form. We can swap any two rows, we can multiply a row by a non-zero scalar, and we can add a multiple of one row to another row. By these three operations, we get a unique matrix in reduced row echelon form, no matter how the steps are taken. Each matrix has a unique reduced row echelon form. Let's see how it is done in an example. Suppose that we have a system of linear equations with 5 variables, meaning that there are 5 columns for the coefficients, and there are 3 linear equations, meaning that we have 3 rows. We'll also need another column for the right-hand side of the equations. This 3 by 6 augmented matrix is where we start. These are the entries of the first row, these are the elements on the second row, and also the elements of the last row of the augmented matrix. In the first step toward changing the matrix into reduced row echelon form, we subtract twice the first column from the third row to eliminate that number 2 on the left. Then we subtract the second row from the third row, which eliminates the second element on this row. Now the matrix has changed to row echelon form, and these are the 3 pivots which are fortunately 1, and we don't need to multiply this row by any scalars to get 1s. But these elements violate the requirements for reduced row echelon form, and we have to get rid of them. To get rid of the third element on the second row, we take 4 times row 3 out of the second row. Then we add the third row to the first row to eliminate that -1 on the third column of the first row. And finally, by using the second row and subtracting twice row 2 from the first row, we are left with this matrix. Now, these are the pivots of our reduced row echelon form matrix. And these are the pivot columns that determine the basic variables we have. Now, using the matrix in reduced row echelon form, we can find the particular and general solution. To find a particular solution, we just look at the pivot columns that are associated with the basic variables. The basic variables in this case are x1, x2, and x3. These 3 entries on the right-hand side of the matrix can be written as a linear combination of these 3 pivot columns, for which I have used C1, C2, and C3. So the first 3 entries of the particular solution are these 3 numbers. The 2 other columns, C4 and C5, are non-pivot columns that are associated with free variables. And in the case of particular solution, we set them to be 0. Now we focus on these two columns and we want to find the different ways they can yield 0. Omega 1 and omega 2 are the free parameters for these two columns. These three entries multiplied by the three pivot columns on its left give the fourth column. So if we set the fourth entry to be -1 and the last one to be 0 and multiply by omega 1, we have considered all the ways the fourth column can yield 0. We can do the same thing for the fifth column, and by multiplying omega 2 by this column matrix, for which the fifth element is -1, the fourth element 0, and the first three entries are exactly the elements on column C5, we can account for the infinite solutions associated with the second parameter. Again, pay attention that omega 1 and omega 2 are the free parameters and can be any real numbers. Pay attention that we can end up with a matrix like this, for which the pivots are on the first, third, and the fifth columns. In this case, for the general solution, we need a particular solution and two free parameters. In the particular solution, the non-zero entries are the first, third, and the fifth elements because the pivot columns are the first, third, and the fifth columns. And the two other elements are 0 because they are associated with the free variables, and we consider them using the two parameters in the next two terms of the solution. For this non-pivot column, which corresponds to the first free variable x2 with the parameter omega 1, we can express it in terms of the pivot column before it. The first element is 2, the second element is -1, and all the others are 0. In the same way, for this non-pivot column, we can use the two pivot columns before it and the free parameter omega 2 to account for different ways they can add up to 0. The first element can be written in terms of the first column, so it goes to the first entry, but the second element, which is 3, can be written based on the third column of the matrix above, so this 3 goes to the third entry. And if we multiply the fourth column with -1, we have produced a combination that goes to 0. Essentially, by writing these three numbers, which are the x's, we are trying to find different ways we can produce 0 to include all the possible answers. And it can be done by writing each non-pivot column in the terms of pivot columns that come before it, and subtracting the non-pivot column itself to get 0. Obviously, the other terms are 0. From this matrix, you can verify that it is in reduced row echelon form. From this matrix, you can verify that it is in reduced row echelon form and there are three pivots that correspond to these three columns. So there are no non-pivot columns and so no free variables. These three variables are linearly independent and there is only one unique solution to the system of linear equations associated with this augmented matrix. The solution can be also written in this form, which is the sum of multiplications of each basic variable with its corresponding pivot column in the augmented matrix.